In 8 days, OnePlus is going to be releasing their next flagship phone. Should you buy one? This will be OnePlus's fourth product. 2 years ago, they came out the very first OnePlus One, and then last year, they came out with two different devices, the OnePlus 2 and the OnePlus X. And this year, they have been fueling that hype train yet again. Is it all gimmicks, or does OnePlus finally deserve some recognition from the top players? A couple weeks ago, they launched the OnePlus Loop, which is a VR headset that will be used to view the launch and give a 2-hour early access window to buy the OnePlus 3 next week. It does very much look like the Samsung Gear VR, but here's the twist. They gave it out for free. They made a couple 100,000 of them and they were gone within the first hour or two. By the time I saw the tweet, I was unlucky enough to not get on that list. Their site went crazy, and of course it was all the buzz on my Twitter feed at least. What's nice is I've already seen people starting to get deliveries of the VR Loop, and I am very jealous, but it is nice to see that they have fully delivered on their promise of starting to ship them out as early as June 2nd, and everyone who was able to be lucky enough to get the OnePlus Loop in time will have it in time for the announcement next week. So then there is the actual phone. Obviously, we don't know many facts about it, but we can take the knowledge we know about OnePlus and come up with a couple different ideas of what it may have. First, we can look at the OnePlus One, which had a very interesting design with its very nice thin bezels, its interesting sandstone back, which while may sound and look kind of not the best, it actually is quite functional. There was also a very unique and beautiful packaging to their OnePlus One that was very eye-catching, and I appreciated it greatly, especially for a budget device. The OnePlus 2 brought USB-C future-proofing, new backs like bamboo and the carbon fiber one that I have that you can switch out, 2 SIM card slots. They came out with their Oxygen OS, which is a very light and beautiful skin on top of the latest version of Android, but the phone did not have NFC, which it did have on the OnePlus One. And then there is the OnePlus X, a now $199 full metal and glass smartphone that also has a 5-inch OLED display, not to mention specific features within Oxygen OS to optimize battery performance using the beautiful OLED display. And of course they had the oh so dreaded invite system that some people loved, but most people hated the past couple of years. They have smartly already announced for this year that there will be no invite system this year, and they will have 1 million units to sell on launch day, not to mention one of the several pop-up locations around the world where you may be able to buy it in person. I will hopefully be at the New York one, so stay tuned for details on that. The new phone is rumored to have the Snapdragon 820 processing chip inside of it. It is going to hopefully have NFC brought back into it, a 5.5-inch, what I hope to be OLED display, a 16 megapixel camera on the back and 8 megapixels up front, and then a whopping 4 to 6 gigs of RAM. So before I make my last point, I want to ask you this. If OnePlus contacted you right now and asked if you would blindly buy the OnePlus 3 before ever seeing it with no option to return, would you spend your hard-earned cash on the OnePlus 3? I'm going to guess that half of you are split. Some may say yes, purely out of the desperation for new tech or out of loyalty. Some may say no because fancy tech specs can be false promises and OnePlus is still a very new company. If you haven't checked it out already, OnePlus recently released a video that's about 15 minutes or long. It's a documentary about the OnePlus 2 release, and some couple different points really caught my eye in it. One was the simple desire to do something great, to create a device that the people who work at the company genuinely would want to see and work and have themselves. The second thing is how one of the employees actually cursed the OS and called it, excuse my language, shit, because it was laggy out of the box, calling it unacceptable, and then giving it to the developers to then fix it before the actual launch happened. That type of dedication and criticism, and self-criticism I should say, is what makes products so great and what pushes companies to constantly make better devices, to allow someone to speak up and say this isn't good enough and we need to make it better, this is unacceptable. The entire video can be summed up into the two simple words that OnePlus has kind of been grown to know for their slogan: never settle. For this reason and this exact reason alone, I would gladly buy the OnePlus 3 absolutely blindly. Don't get me wrong, I don't think this is going to be the greatest thing ever made. The Wi-Fi card in it is extremely slow in comparison to my iPhone and any other flagship phone that I've ever used. Battery optimization has a lot to be desired for, and the fact that the OnePlus 2 had the NFC card removed in it is a joke. It is still a budget phone. But when I see a startup company lift their middle finger to all the big companies, Apple, Samsung, HTC, Google, and say that we are going to do something better, we are going to continually innovate, to improve, to come out with new features that people have never heard of, to create a device that people can genuinely fall in love with, to create a culture and a company that people can fall in love with, to constantly make our precision processing and manufacturing even better, and to say we are going to do it for hundreds of dollars less. Now that is a company that I would blindly follow. Would you?